Welcome to my Luniverse. Believe it or not, this project took me an incredible 3 years to complete. Back in February 2022, I poured this beautiful moon and always had the idea of lighting it from behind. Well, life happened. Or maybe it's just how my brain functions, and I finally managed to finish it yesterday. Let's dive into the first part of this project, the acrylic pouring. If you're familiar with the technique, you might have already guessed this was done using the flip cap method. It's my favorite technique because it's simple. And still produces fantastic results. For layering the paint, I use the sandwich method. The first and last layers, or the bottom and top, are the same color, making up about 50% of the total paint. The remaining colors are layered in the middle. In my case, the main color is a very light and creamy yellow. For the middle layers, I chose pink, gold, burgundy, copper, bronze, and a rich peach tone. I added a drop of silicone oil to the non-metallic colors, so pink, burgundy, and peach, to create cells in the paint. To keep things moving, let's speed this up a bit. The flip cap technique involves quickly turning the cap upside down and placing it cleanly on the surface. Here, an MDF board shaped like a moon. This moon was left over from an earlier project, and I rediscovered it in my basement while searching for something else, of course. The moment I saw it, the idea hit me. I wanted to pour a moon. You can also see that I primed the moon with gesso and applied painter's tape around the edges. This was to avoid losing too much paint due to the circular cutout and to work slowly and carefully. Once the paint was roughly where I wanted it, I removed the tape, letting the excess paint flow over the edges to cover them. This is actually the second moon I've poured, so the process went pretty smoothly. My first attempt was the day before, and it was a great learning experience. With this moon, I pulled the paint a bit further into the tips, maybe a little too far, because I ended up with a bit too much blank space in the middle. But overall, I'm thrilled with how it turned out, how smooth the process was, and especially how the cells developed. I was so excited back then, though you can't tell in this video, but I was absolutely amazed by how the cells formed. That said, you can clearly see here how I struggled a bit with the empty spot in the middle. You might think I got impatient with that bold tilting move, but it wasn't impatience. It was a moment of courage. I knew this would distort the existing cells, but it was important to me to fill the empty space, even if it meant some compromises. I tried to tweak a large icy cell a bit, but eventually stopped, realizing it was better for the overall look not to force any major changes. Instead, I used my mini torch to pop air bubbles. The heat brought the silicon oil to the surface, creating these gorgeous little cells in the larger, clear areas. All in all, I'm over the moon. Honestly, I've never poured anything with such clean structure and proportions in the cells. I love it so much, my little Luniverse. Now, as I edit this video, I already feel inspired to revisit this technique using the same materials, a pouring medium mix of PVA glue and Solo Goya. I'll try it again, but with a different color palette. I spent quite a bit of time deciding what kind of LED strip I use for the moon. I didn't want one that needed to be plugged in, as I didn't like the idea of a dangling power cord. Plus, that would limit where I could hang it. But I also wasn't convinced by battery-powered options. Too wasteful and too much hassle to replace batteries. Then I was quite surprised to find this LED strip at Action. The quality isn't amazing, but the removable power bank concept sold me immediately. I knew it was finally time to take the moon off the shelf and finish the project. The instruction manual was tiny, in font size and content, and I couldn't find any information about whether the strip could be cut. I eventually spotted a little scissors icon and took the risk of cutting it here. From the beginning, my plan was not to stick the LED strip flat on the back, but to install it upright, parallel to the edge. Lucky for me, I had some random bits in my stash that worked perfectly for this. I spent quite some time figuring out how to position the strip so that the light would form an uninterrupted halo while still allowing the power bank to be easily removed for charging. I was thrilled to discover the light set included a magnetic holder, but it quickly became clear that it wasn't strong enough for a hanging installation. Luckily, I remembered some strong magnets from an unused insect screen set. After a bit of trial and error, I found that the hot glue worked better if the magnets stayed in their plastic casings. feeling pretty confident after solving the magnet problem, I moved on to attaching the pieces. Spoiler alert, it wasn't as quick as I hoped. Did you see the LED strip flicker for a second? My heart stopped for a moment, but thankfully it still worked. What didn't work though was the placement of the strip. I had positioned it too close to the edge, which I only noticed when I held it up against the wall and saw the strip itself. Definitely not the look I wanted. So I removed everything and moved it about 2/3 of an inch inward. Now it's perfect. I added a few spaces and a hanger, and ta-da! Project Luniverse is complete. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like and maybe even subscribe to my channel. I'd be over the moon. Again. Thank you so much and see you next time.